Hey, I'm Butterfly.
Hey, I'm Firefly.
Have you ever wondered if we aren't being told the truth about everything?
What have we been lied to about? Join us as we have conversations and ask questions about everything. We invite you to keep an open mind and consider the unfathomable.
Let's break the chains that enslave our minds. Come on, let's go down the rabbit hole.
What's up, Butterfly?
Hey, Firefly, what's going on?
Well, we are going to go down another rabbit hole. Which one did we decide to go down today?
Well, it's kind of like Everything Sucks Part 2
Yeah,
or 2.0.
it's an ongoing saga.
Yeah. And what we were thinking is that it's kind of like they want to keep us sick and tired. Have you noticed that?
Well, they've accomplished that with me.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, like they want everybody on drugs and
Yes.
not the fun kind.
Yeah.
Like we're talking like big pharma, a lot of people are on antidepressants
You mean
and
kind of like Brave New World?
like Soma.
Like
They
Soma.
want us all on Soma.
Yeah, because otherwise you might get mad.
Yeah.
And they don't want you mad.
They want us controlled.
Yeah, because you know what happens if a lot of people are collectively mad at the same thing? They're
They,
probably going to take over.
they might lash out and actually take
Yeah.
action. Yeah.
Like if everyone in America got mad at who deserves to be mad at, they'd be done.
I know.
So they don't want you to get mad.
Because there's more of us.
There are.
So, yeah.
So it's better to keep them on like
Soma.
what are they called? Those SRIs. It's like
Yeah.
reuptake inhibitors. I mean,
Yeah.
that sounds so great. Just give me some more of that.
They put little kids on that stuff. It's so sad.
And it's like, well, your dopamine, it's going to kind of like take out your dopamine. So you don't feel joy, but you don't feel bummed either.
Yeah. You just don't feel anything.
You know?
It's kind of like, like Brave New World and like the movie The Giver. They had no feelings. They just they didn't feel anything, They just had their little injection every day.
And remember the one dude was bad because he didn't take his pill.
He started to not take it anymore.
And then once you like start not taking
started
your
feeling
pill,
things.
you're like, wow, I see things differently.
Yeah. But
Wait a
that's what
minute.
life is all about. You need to have feelings to feel what it's meant to be alive, to feel joy and there's gonna be
Sometimes
sadness.
really excruciating circumstances are necessary to make you change.
Yeah. But I think they just kind of want to sort of like even toned or, even maybe like angry, but then they can dope us up even more,
I think it's because if we start to kind of unpack what they're doing to us, we might get kind of pissed, Because, I think what you're kind of getting at is how are they making us sick and tired? It's kind of like we're being corralled
in a lot of ways. I mean, they're spraying the skies.
Why are they doing that? That doesn't seem like something that's benefiting me.
No. And who's doing that? The pilots must know that they are letting stuff out of their planes, right?
They're like, why am I loading this canister in this thing?
I mean, at least like the guy that's putting it in there must know that he's doing something that's not completely great.
And that's the thing that's really annoying is like some people will just do their jobs even though
without questioning.
Yeah, somebody might go, wait, is that kind of evil what they're doing? And it's like,
it's okay. I got my paycheck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? I didn't make the decisions. I'm just doing what I'm told. Well, you're still kind of participating in evil.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I go kill somebody, but I kind of use your help to go kill them, you're kind of guilty too.
I think that's called accomplice.
Yeah.
I'm the accomplice.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like it seems like people kind of just like justify those types of things to themselves,
Yeah. Like I was just doing what I was told. But yeah, I think they want us sick and tired. And like, have you noticed how like a lot of people, like most people are just working so much and they get up and they go to their job every day and then they come home and they're just exhausted and all they want to do is turn on Netflix. and basically get brainwashed
Yeah.
by Netflix, you know? So
And it's like not fulfilling, no purpose in your life.
Yeah.
No, see, like
you're just going to a job that
if
doesn't
your
mean
life has
anything.
no purpose and no meaning and no value, how long are you going to be able to do it without kind of like tossing yourself off a bridge?
Or wanting to take some of the soma that they're offering.
Let me just have an overdose of that soma. Give me a double dose.
You know, I mean, but I think this is all kind of part of their plan. They want everybody
Yeah.
sick and tired physically and mentally, you know. So basically, you know, you get up, you go to your job, you work, you know, all these hours every week. You have your 2 days off on the weekend, and that's barely enough time to regroup and maybe a little time with your family. But you're so tired at the end of the day and at the end of the week that really don't have much energy to do much else.
Yeah.
You know, most people, it's like all they can do to just get up and go to their job every day and maybe go to the grocery store or something or order a pizza. You know, they don't have the gumption to like start a business or
Go get involved with the community.
Go get involved.
Because that's kind of how you overthrow these people, right?
Mm-hmm.
As if we were a bunch of angry people talking about those people and being like, hey, they suck.
Yeah.
Then we might actually work together collectively with our energy and take our country back.
Right.
You know?
I mean, they make it so difficult. We were talking about like the bureaucracies, I think in one of our past episodes, and how they make everything so hard to deal with, like even like to like take care of bills and stuff. Like you can't actually talk to a real person. They make everything like the systems are so micromanaged and so difficult to deal with that like you just kind of give up and go, okay, whatever. I'll just
Oh my God,
go do my job. Like it's hard. It would be, you know, it's hard to like start a business, and they make it almost impossible to be successful or to make any money doing so.
Yeah, weren't we just listening to that podcast where that lady was talking about how she had like a little kinder care, and which was like private equity banks, they were using like financial instruments that are supposed to be illegal to just kind of like take over her company
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of go, by the way, we own your company now. And we're going to just push you out. You now, and that's kind of how they corral you.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get to own anything. You're not in charge of anything. So now you're kind of beholden to them.
They make it like that. I mean, that's their whole plan. You know, you're going to own nothing and be happy. So basically, like those
I don't know
companies.
if I believe that. Am I going to be happy?
Well, they're saying you will.
You know why you're going to be happy is because you're going to be on like reuptake inhibitors that don't allow you to feel
they'll give you an
sorrow.
extra soma.
Yeah, you'll just be kind of walking around like with that kind of blank stare on your face. But I don't know, is that happy? I guess it's kind of happy.
No, but I'm seeing a lot of people like that.
I think
with
so.
That blank stare.
Yeah, they've already succeeded with a lot of people.
I think those people are taking their somas.
And you know what? I kind of look at that as like The Walking Dead was a documentary.
Mm-hmm.
So the walkers are those people. And the walkers are dangerous.
Yeah.
Because even though they're just kind of like NPCs, zombies walking around, they can always be activated to like all of a sudden go start being violent for some reason.
Totally.
You know?
And, you know, when you're so clueless and you're just going to like be easily programmed, who knows what you can be programmed to do. So, you know.
And I think we're going to be touching on that in other episodes.
I think so.
Because that might be contributing to this mass brainwashing that we're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's people being corralled through financial instruments into like financial obligations that are not healthy.
Right.
And not fulfilling, and then also exhausting. So then you go talk to a shrink and you go, I'm so miserable. And they go, here. And they give you like a cocktail of some pills.
Yeah.
Here, it's like blue pills. Here's your blue pills.
Now go home and be happy.
Yeah. But what if you get, that's fine.
Be neutral.
And you know what's so funny is if you tell them, you know what, I got my red pill at home, they go, you've been misinformed.
Yeah. They're like, oh, no, you don't want to take that.
You really got to be dangerous with those red pills. I've seen people kind of lose it on that.
We've seen people go off the rails on the red pills. But yeah, I think the point is they basically want us to be slaves. You know, we're like hamsters running on the little wheel, you know.
Yeah.
Did you ever have a hamster?
Yeah.
I did too. They're super cute.
They are.
They like to run on those wheels but they just run, and they don't get anywhere. But you know, it's kind of like that's what they want to do to us. They want us on our little hamster wheel, just spinning our wheels, just
like if I go run on the treadmill, I'm like, okay, I'm burning calories. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm like getting in shape. This is cardiovascular exercise. But if you're just running on a treadmill of life, then all you're doing is getting tired and dead.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like a treadmill of like a little cubicle in an office where you're probably not staying in shape. You're probably getting fatter and, you know, like more out of shape while you eat your lunch at your desk. And
you know, these companies too, they're total cults.
Yeah.
Like, when you go work in there, you better be drinking the Kool-Aid. Otherwise, they're going to be like, you know what? It's not a good fit.
Right.
And they'll just let you go.
Well, most of the companies are, you know, which most of them are owned by BlackRock and some of those other things, which, you know, if you follow the money all the way up, you'll see. But they all had strict rules about people getting the pokey poke.
That's right.
Which, you know, if more people would have just said no, the whole thing would have fallen apart.
And look at what happened.
But people were like, okay, because they were so, you know, drugged up on their somas already that they were like, I'll do what I'm told.
There was a gym owner in New Jersey during the pokey scare. And he refused to close his gym.
Oh, yeah.
And he refused to make people wear masks. And they levied like $10,000 a day fines. He accrued like $8 million in fines. And he was just like, whatever.
It's so like illegal and unconstitutional.
Yeah.
Like, how can you find somebody for that?
Somehow he did, at the end of the cootie scare, he was exonerated, I guess, and they took away the debt. So he kind of won. But look at what he had to kind of be like ready to risk it all.
Right.
And he's kind of a younger guy. He doesn't have kids. Like if you got kids, you're kind of going, I don't know.
I know.
You know?
Well, I mean, I understand how, you know, a lot of people have been so coerced into things like that. But really, like, you know, the point of our podcast really is to try to let people know that there are more of us and there's safety in numbers, and we just have to realize that we don't have to go along with all of this garbage.
You know what I think the key is? I'm starting to kind of like, because we're always thinking about solutions, because what you and I are is white pilled. We're not black pilled.
Right.
Well, I'll talk about pills. We talk about pills a lot. But anyways.
Those are our drugs.
Those are our drugs. We're white pilled. So I take a white pill every morning. Not a Soma pill. It's a white pill. And I think what I'm kind of getting at is people need to set down the Kool-Aid. And they also, so you need to kind of be able to tune out of the media.
Right.
That's a really, really toxic force in your brain. But then if you're going and talking to a quote unquote therapist about your mental health and they're giving you anything, don't ever take any kind of like, you know, what do they call it? It's not Vicodin. It's
Percocet.
Is it Vicodin in it?
What is that? No, that's a pain. Those are painkillers, I think.
No, what's the one that they give you that was Prozac?
Prozac. Yeah.
Prozac was like the original one. Remember, it was like, what's Prozac? Well, it makes you happy.
Yeah.
Well, I think if you take those pills, you need to stop.
Yeah.
Because I think that those pills, I'm sure that they're mind controlling.
Well, and did you ever notice that like those pills, like they list all those side effects, you know, like it's supposed to make you happy, right?
But you might kill yourself.
But suicide is one of the side effects.
Which is kind of weird.
That doesn't really sound like you're happy if you're going to be suicidal.
And that's a weird side effect. Like a side effect I would think would be like maybe like a runny nose or diarrhea, but it's like, I'm going to go murder myself. I'll be right back. You know,
especially for a drug that's supposed to make you feel good. Like
my happy pills.
My happy pills are making me want to kill myself.
I guess I got a bad batch.
Maybe we should be taking those.
And like did the exact opposite. Like I suddenly, not only am I unhappy, I can't take any more. It's weird. Like that's a strange side effect.
It's a really strange.
And the side effect almost suggests like it's probably gonna happen.
Yeah.
You know?
Like if they're saying this is a side effect, then they know that this has happened to some of the people.
It's an effect.
This isn't something we should really be laughing about, but it's just the point of that if they're saying that this is a side effect, then they know that's happening.
You know what? Is suicide a side effect? Because there's nothing on the side. Suicide is not on the side.
No, but
suicide is kind of like the main thing. Like it's the main effect.
I don't think I want to be taking a happy pill that's going to make me want to kill myself. I mean, I would think, but see, again, people don't read the little disclaimers. They just go up.
You know what I think people do? I think people do.
They want to be skinny and happy.
I think people just go, "That's not going to happen to me."
Yeah. I'll be the exception.
That's always kind of what you do when everyone says, "Look, you can do this, but there's this warning, there's this, and people just go, "Yeah, but that won't happen."
I won't be those people.
Yeah. No, this is only going to work to make me feel great all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
So I think what I was kind of getting at was like our point of our podcast is first thing you need to do is you need to break out of this like conditioning that they have you in, because they've got all of these different like control mechanisms in place.
Yeah. They know you're going to, if you want to, have a home and you have a family and this and that, you're going to have a job, right? You're going to have to work and make money. So
which sucks.
But, so you're going to, probably have to get a job with some company. And then,
or what if you go say, I'm going to start a small business?
They make it almost impossible.
That's what we were talking about with that lady.
Yeah. They make the rents super high. They make all these restrictions and rules that you have to, permits and things where most people just, when they start looking into it, they just kind of go, oh God, forget it. Or they start one and they put everything into it that they have and quit their jobs, put all their money into this business, and then they end up like bankrupt like a year later because, everything is kind of going against them.
So, and like, I mean, how strong can people be? Like, I saw this one dude, he had a pretty good product. I can't remember what his product was, but I was like, buy one of those. And he had a pretty good product and he made it. He had his own, like, that he invested in, like, manufacturing shop, made this product, and it was killer. And he had a storefront that he was selling it in, but then it got too expensive. They like priced him out of having a storefront. So he was like, okay, he kind of capitulated and said, I'll just sell my stuff on Amazon and I'll find my audience that way, which he did. But what he found out is that Jeff Bezos kind of goes, yeah, but you have to charge this. And so he tells you how much you can charge for your own products. And if you try to charge more, they'll come in and sell your product for cheaper.
Oh my gosh.
And then no one will. So it's like we're being like corralled.
We're being corralled, and they're squeezing out the little guys, the little small businesses. They're squeezing them out, and companies like Amazon
and then
are taking over.
What is Amazon kind of like indicative of? It's kind of like a microcosm or a macrocosm of like one world government.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like everything's being consolidated more and more into the hands of these elites.
Right.
Which I don't like to call them elites because I don't think they're better than me.
Well, I like to call them deletes.
The deletes. Like we need to delete
them.
Yeah. I was actually thinking about that too. Like, okay, so there's kind of like these evil families that, from what I understand, like at the top of the cult that we never hear about, but they're like generational and always they're there. So let them always be there. But I think where the real guilt lies is the people who sell out and do what they are told by these evil people.
Yeah.
Like if you're working for Satan, don't.
Yeah. Like you don't have to.
You can resign. You can say, Satan, I just don't like the direction of the company.
Yeah. I probably wouldn't even give him notice.
Yeah.
I'd just probably walk out when I find out it's Satan.
Satan's like, you're going to need to train your replacement.
Yeah.
But I think that's really interesting because they are kind of keeping us on this never-ending treadmill.
Perpetual hamster wheel.
Yeah. It makes us miserable and
tired, sick and tired.
But I think if they had their way, they would just kind of send you a little notice in your inbox. Like you open up an email and it says, from they. And it says, could you just die?
Yeah. They just want us to die. But while we're dying, they want us to be sick and tired
Yeah.
and drugged up.
It's almost like they enjoy watching us die slowly.
Yeah.
They're like,
well, because then we can be sick and we can be taking all their drugs that they're selling and spend all our money on that.
That's right.
Not the fun kind.
They can fleece us while they kill us.
While we're dying, we can just, spend all our money on the pharmaceuticals.
It's almost like they're not like our friend.
I know.
I'm thinking.
Did you know that a lot of the pharmaceuticals are actually do control people's minds? Did you know that?
Well, I'm starting to kind of see that. Like, that was kind of like an epiphany I just had like 2 minutes ago when we were talking about it. I was like, because, if you take a pill that makes you want to commit suicide, then I'm wondering, it's like,
what else is it doing to your mind?
It's kind of like that lady. I'm not asking what's in the infusion. You know what I'm saying? Like, that lady is kind of like she's like the poster child for how you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Because when you go take that stuff, you have no idea what's in there.
Yeah.
And there is like, they figured out, I mean, these people created LSD.
Yeah.
So they've created ways to like mess with your mind.
Exactly. And what they do is there's all kinds of mind altering components in these pharmaceuticals. So you might be taking something for like cholesterol, which is a whole other rabbit hole that we might want to go down, because those cholesterol medications actually they kind of unlubricate your brain, and the rates of Alzheimer's has gone up tremendously since they started.
Because think about it. To the cult, an Alzheimer's patient is kind of the ideal.
Yeah.
Like, they all kind of want us wandering around like Grandpa Ned.
Yeah. So basically they want people on all those, I think they're called statins, which.
You know what's so funny? My mom just last night was talking to me about Clint Eastwood. So Clint Eastwood's like in his 90s, right?
We were talking about that.
And he just came out and made a statement, and he goes, let me tell you, if you're taking any cholesterol drugs or any blood pressure drugs from your doctor, stop immediately.
Yeah.
And he was kind of calling attention to the fact that, remember how we kind of talked about how the medical industry got taken over by John D. Rockefeller?
Right.
Which is weird. I thought he did oil, but whatever.
I think there's a lot of oil in those pills.
Yeah, by the way, here, take this. It's like, well,
take some motor oil.
Exactly. Why don't I do all this?
That's what canola oil is anyway, by the way.
No way.
Which people cook with. You can put that in your car, I think.
I use it all the time.
That's horrible.
I think I'm just going to start putting Valvoline in my pan, just like, dinner's done. So Clint Eastwood was kind of saying, John D. Rockefeller he wasn't saying this, but he was saying the medical system has been hijacked. And what we know is John D. Rockefeller took over the medical system and said all of the treatments that we had for, 40 million years, however humans go back.
Anything natural,
that's
bad.
Alternative.
That's all bad.
They label it alternative.
Right.
So then, when you're... Because you know what they have? They have what a doctor has is a afraid person.
Mm-hmm.
They look on their special little x-rays, and they always find something that you should be afraid of. And they go, see this? It's kind of like Larry Ellison. It's like, well, we looked at your blood and we found out you're pre-cancer.
You're going to have cancer in a couple years.
You're going to be like,
we're going to make a shot for you.
You're going to get tumors in your brain soon. So here. But so I think you have people afraid. So they're already kind of like, suggestible.
Right.
And then now you're saying, here, go down this rabbit hole.
And the guy in the white coat, which we've already talked about this.
Oh, yeah.
Most people just trust.
A full 75% will do whatever someone says if they seem like they're an authority figure.
If they're wearing a white coat. I think I'm going to start wearing a white coat.
Well, you know why? Because why does a doctor have so much power? Because you're kind of afraid. You're like, oh, my health, and I don't really know. Okay, well, here, this doctor, people put like all of their
because they've been to a lot of school. But we know that, all of that schooling, I mean, sure, they learned how to, maybe cut into a heart or a brain or something, but they've also been highly brainwashed.
You know what I think? I think here's what happens is I think you get to a certain age and they tell you your health has declined to a certain point. Now you need to take our drugs for the rest of your life. And then when you take their drugs, you get fleeced and then you die.
Yeah.
And it's a slow kill.
It is.
And they kind of like that. It's perfect.
And the doctors, a lot of doctors are, they've been totally brainwashed too. And they don't really read up on a lot of this stuff, not nearly as much as we do. and they just go along with whatever. Basically, a lot of them are like drug pushers. The pharmaceutical companies come in and they tell them to push these drugs.
Oh, like the hot
and
chicks. Have you heard about the pharmaceutical reps that are like super hot chicks?
They come in and then they like probably take them to lunch and maybe have some martinis and
I think they have like sex with them,
maybe some other stuff.
Yeah,
they get kickbacks from these companies,
and then the dude's like, okay, and so you know what? This is the thing. You're complicit. Then you're like not. You're not the one creating the poison, but you're kind of giving the poison to the people.
And so a lot of these drugs have like weird side effects that, the people don't even realize, like they might be taking this drug to lower their cholesterol, but meanwhile it's unlubricating their brain. And so they're going to end up with Alzheimer's.
Which sucks. Where does the lubrication go?
I know. It just eliminates. And then, but there's also other ones like
my brain is dry.
There's like mind altering side effects. A lot of them, actually, it's been proven that they have like mind altering side effects in a lot of these drugs that are for kind of benign problems. Like, high cholesterol isn't really a big problem unless you're like, it's completely out of control. You know what I mean? Like
some people eat ridiculously.
Yeah.
Like you eat McDonald's constantly.
Yeah. You might have an issue.
That's an easy issue to kind of overcome.
Yeah. A pill is not the answer. But yeah, so they have these weird
what you're making me think of too, is what happens if a doctor comes out and says, wait a minute, this is fucked up. Then they kind of get attacked.
Exactly.
And I think they kind of get their medical license taken away and then maybe even unalived.
So what needs to happen is more doctors who aren't completely brainwashed and who realize what's happening need to be leaders, and they need to not go along with the BS just everybody else,
Because we're all going to be slaves. And I think these doctors kind of have this idea, well, I'm in the crowd. I'm in the club. No, you're not in the club.
It's kind of sad because I know for a fact that some of them are completely brainwashed, because I know a couple of doctors personally who got the pokey poke and had their kids pokey poked. And obviously, they're not going to be poking their kids with that poison unless they really actually think that it's a good thing. You know what I mean?
Totally.
So that tells me that they are totally not looking into they didn't look into the side effects or the ingredients. They just
have you seen this disgusting phenomena too, where like a lot of doctors are getting taught a bunch of like woke ideology in medical school? It's like, wait, I thought you were supposed to be learning about like my anatomy and like blood and cells and medicines, but no, you're learning about how like the white man's bad.
Yeah, and how like there's like 58 different genders, and how all these drugs are actually a good thing, and
and Caitlyn Jenner's stunning and brave. We're learning this. Okay, well, that's like your medical school training. Why is that? Because they are getting brainwashed. And so that's part of the brainwashing.
If they can get the doctors totally brainwashed and on board with all of this, then it's much easier to control the whole population, because they'll be like, issuing out more drugs. More people will be drugged up with all these weird side effects.
A lot of people feel the need to start going. Like, have you ever noticed like some dudes are like 40 and like, oh, I go to the doctor regularly and it's the right thing to do. I'm not going near a freaking doctor. I'll die on my couch at home before I ever go to a doctor.
Totally.
Now, I already kind of had an aversion to doctors way before the cooties scare. But once cooties came out, I was like, dude, I'm not going to a doctor.
Yeah. I remember going to my doctor during that whole thing, and he was talking about, he was like kind of like Dr. Welby, like this really nice man that we thought was so nice and everything. And he was talking about the pokey poke, and I was like, but, if I already had the cooties, like why would I need to get
You've been misinformed.
Why would it? Yeah, I said, like wouldn't I have like natural immunity? And he was like, oh no, it doesn't work that way with this thing. And I'm like, wait, what?
This thing?
I'm like, but so like I had chicken pox and you weren't telling me to get the chicken pox pokey poke. So why would I? Oh, well, it's different. This one's really different, and I was like, he goes, I've seen it turn really bad, like on a few people. And I've like, have you like actually seen anybody die of the cooties? And he's like, yes, I had a few people die. And I was like, I go, well, that's interesting.
Were they 88 years old with multiple comorbidities?
I asked, I said, were they in the hospital and were they given remdesivir? And he was like, well, I don't know about that. And I'm thinking,
You know what? You bumped up against his brainwashing because remdesivir kills like 35% of the people who take it.
And he's like, I don't know about that. And I'm thinking, shouldn't you know about that? If you're you should know like what they were given. And he didn't want to talk about that stuff with me. He didn't like the conversation.
He was like, I think you need to find another doctor. Mm-hmm.
Well, we actually got a letter from him and he kind of kicked us out.
Yeah, he was like, I will not be giving you drugs anymore. Well, okay.
I don't like you. He called me vaccine hesitant one time because I was like hesitant even before the pokey poke.
I think let's say hypothetically somebody like breaks their arm and goes in to get there. They're probably, it's like, oh, can you fix my arm? And it's like, yes, we'll fix your arm, but have you taken the vaccine? You know, I think they kind of push it on you.
Oh, I know somebody actually whose kid that happened to, and they basically coerced the parent. They didn't want the parents in the hospital because they weren't poked.
And as kids will probably be like, oh, well, the doctor told me to take these 4 shots when I was back there.
Yeah.
And the parents are like, what? And, well,
yeah, they totally coerce these people. I mean, that's what was happening. This is horrible. And it's like, does that even make sense? Like, if you think that this pokey poke has to be into everybody in order for that person to be like safe to be around, how is poking them right now going to fix that problem? If you just need to fix this kid's broken arm, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you're going to poke the parents and then suddenly they're safe to be around?
I think that's part of the brainwashing that the doctors go under. The doctors are told, you must give them drugs.
And nobody's allowed in here unless they've got the poke.
Yes. When they come in, and then they get paid based on how many drugs they push on people.
Totally.
And doctors are kind of egomaniacs anyways. They're kind of like, I'm a big somebody.
I'm like God.
Yeah.
I can save people.
I am science.
But so yeah, I've read a lot about a lot of these different drugs. Like Dr. Brian Ardis was talking a lot about how the like reptile venom is in a lot of the drugs.
Monster.
And it actually like alters people's brains. It alters the way that they think and perceive things. And he said that
that's weird.
It actually alters how people perceive reality, which totally, when I heard about that, I was like, that really answers a lot of questions, because didn't you kind of feel like during the Cooties fiasco that we were sort of like living in like separate realities from some people?
Yeah.
It was like really weird.
You know what it makes you susceptible to? Probably it's the media narrative works in conjunction with the drugs.
Totally.
So now, because you got the drugs and now you're like susceptible to their brainwashing through
easily
the media.
Controlled.
Because I see people and it's like, wait a minute. Yeah, can you like think for yourself, or do you just swallow down everything they tell you? And clearly they do, and literally in like a physical pill.
Yeah.
So I never thought of that angle until just now, but like the pills are either brainwashing them or they're making them susceptible to the brain.
So they're already controlled in a way. And then a lot of those people were, easily controlled and coerced into getting the pokey poke.
It's so weird. The more we talk, the more I realize we've got all these control mechanisms.
I know.
It's like we're in Alcatraz, kind of.
Yeah.
And like we only get to leave our cell every 1 hour a day and go out to the yard. And there's special rules in the yard. There's special rules when you eat. And they just want you like in your cell. So it's like, but what did I do to have to go to a penitentiary for my whole life?
I don't know.
I should be free. I've never really done anything.
We're not really free. I mean, if you're working a job, if you have a career, you're probably paying the government like 1/3 to 40% of your income.
We're debt slaves.
Yeah. It's basically like the government is like our pimp. And, we're out there like slaving away, doing our job every day, and then we have to give like most of it to our
And they do not want you to get off the plantation.
No.
They really don't want that. And I think the plantation is now mental. Mm-hmm. It's a mind plantation.
So how can we fix this?
Well, I think like Clint Eastwood was saying, first of all, stop taking the drugs.
Yeah.
Stop going and talking to doctors. Go find, I think what's being developed now is an alternative medical system.
Totally.
Where people are saying, you know what, I might want to manage my health, but I'm going to use like herbs and ancient remedies, and I'm going to use holistic treatments.
And you know what? There's people so I actually have a doctor who is out of the system. And
See, that's cool.
she was part of the system. She was part of the whole hospital system here. And she left it during the Cooties fiasco, and she started her own practice, and now it's like booming. There's like several doctors in the same office, and they kind of follow a more natural line of medicine, and they can prescribe like big pharma if you want it, or if they think that, maybe you need it. But they
Do you ever
first
need big pharma? I wonder.
I don't think so. They first try to go the natural route, and they're not part of that whole system. So I trust her because
I think you should always go
she's
the
not-
natural.
yeah.
It's never like, oh, well, the natural remedies aren't going to work anymore. It's like you should never use big pharma.
Yeah.
I think big pharma is big poison. That's what we should call it.
Big poison.
That's pretty much what it is.
Totally.
And because anything that you do there, plus, have you ever noticed like they always want to give you surgery?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I went in and I got this cut out and this cut out. And that's like, I don't know. I don't think that's the tact.
I don't either.
Or like, how about like, well, that person got cancer, so they did chemotherapy. It's like,
they just gave that person radiation to get. Doesn't
them.
Radiation cause cancer?
Yeah.
I don't understand why.
Why don't you just have them stand in a nuclear blast radius and then they'll be totally healed?
I mean, that seems really strange to me. Radiation you're supposed to like not be near radiation, and they say it causes cancer, right? They always have little warnings like this could cause cancer, and like, there's anti-radiation things that you can get. And,
I know.
But then they give that to people that have cancer.
Yeah.
That seems weird.
It's not right. I think that when somebody like has their cancer go into remission, it's like a fluke. The doctor's like, damn it.
Where did we go wrong?
Exactly. We didn't radiate him enough. So at this point, you need to stay away from hospitals and the main healthcare system. That's like, the number one thing. And then I also think that people need to stop. I personally believe you need to like pray and get rid of evil spirits and like get rid of evil stuff in your life, rather than just go talk to a therapist all the time. Because people are like, I'm not happy, I'm going to go talk to a therapist. I think those people are in the cult and going, yeah, come here. We've got these drugs for you and you'll never be bummed again. And it's like, well, I think those kind of make you kill yourself. I think that's kind of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got these two like arms that they're supposed to be like medical. So when you think medical, you're like, oh, these people are trying to help me. No. There's two arms of like the corralling, and kind of that's the death.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So when we're talking the white pill solutions, you got to get out of those two things for sure.
And what about, for these people that are just going to their dead end job every day and just sitting in their cubicles, and they're exhausted by the end of the day, by the end of the week, they don't have any energy to do anything else.
I think you need to make a determination at some point. Is this job going anywhere? And is this what I want to do with my life?
And is there something else that I could be doing with maybe a group of people for the same goal that might actually make a difference in the world and make me
that's
happy?
A good point. I think what a lot of people do is, how kind of people self-censor? Mm-hmm. They know censorship is so prevalent, so they just go, well, I'm just not going to say it. Mm-hmm. I think people kind of don't start a business because they're just like, because everyone gets told it's so difficult. And they just go, okay, I'll just keep working out my cubicle in my big corporation that just basically I'm a number two. And they're going to fire me if I ever get out of line. Like if I send an email to one of my friends and it says, something about like anything that goes like against the mainstream narrative.
Big brother.
Big brother, I'd probably get fired. Like if somehow they found out that I was like doing this, they'd be like, Mike, I'm afraid you can't work here anymore. And I'd be like, wow. So basically I have to toe the line at these companies.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of it too. I think you need to have the audacity to get out of these companies. Mm-hmm. So we'll see. I mean, I think when you're talking about solutions, you're talking about first and foremost
being healthy.
You need to be healthy, but then you need to help other people get out of their stupor.
Yeah.
That's what they're in.
The stupor.
They're in a stupor.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, have you ever hung out with somebody when they blackout drunk? Have you ever been with somebody like that?
Yeah.
And they're not behind the wheel. They're still playing pool and kind of hanging out in the bar. But you know that a long time ago, they stopped actually making decisions for themselves.
Yeah.
And now they're kind of like on autopilot, right? I think that's kind of what happens with these people.
So it might be like cool if you can, find other people to maybe have your same kind of interests and try
to form
communities and maybe like we were saying, it's so hard to have a business and this and that, but when people work together, they can sometimes
we're gonna have
pull
to
things off.
we're gonna have to. I think at this point now it's kind of like maybe a little bit of a sense of urgency. Like we kind of have to do that now.
We kind of have to wake up and we have to wake other people up.
I think, it's not enough to just be awake and just have, I think now you kind of have to be, another solution is forming parallel markets and medical systems and having like alternatives.
Right.
So you're not just going and shopping on Amazon and then going to the doctor and getting your pharmaceutical drugs and going and working at your corporation in your cubicle. You're getting out of that. Yeah. And I think that's the key. You need to step completely out of that. And you got to stop watching the crap that you're watching. Netflix is completely social engineering.
Total.
Like everything.
Yeah.
You know what I watched? Oh, I watched Running Man. Mm-hmm. Have you ever seen that movie with Arnold? Mm-hmm. Came out in like 86 or something. It's got Maria Conchita Alonso. Anyways, it was interesting because what do they do with Ben Richards? They lie about him. And then they say that he killed a bunch of innocent people when it was actually the opposite. He got told to kill a bunch of innocent people, but then they lie about him and they kind of create this straw man. And the other thing that was cool is it's kind of like the Hunger Games. They set up these games where people die and, the elites kind of watch. And I think I'm starting to see that's kind of a common. Have you seen that in a lot of different shows?
It's a common theme, which is like interesting too.
I think what they want us to do is, so while we're sick and tired and living in our little cubicles and just having our kind of pathetic lives, they kind of want to just like have us fight each other for fun.
Right.
So they can just be entertained by us. And I think that might be like kind of a real thing,
It is.
So
I think people are always going to want to be entertained. And, there is something to be said for that. Like I enjoy watching a good movie or a good program, whatever, but you have to realize what's happening. You have to realize that a lot of it is social engineering.
And I can do that too. Like I watched Running Man last night, but I didn't just get totally sucked in and become like a zombie.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I was able to kind of recognize it. If you can watch things and recognize what's going on, then you're not going to get into the stupor.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. You have to kind of keep yourself from the stupor.
Yep. The stupor.
The super stupor.
The super stupor.
Because that's what's going on. Like you see people and like you're just like, wait a second, that guy doesn't look like he's behind the wheel.
That guy looks like he's in a stupor.
Yeah. And you just shake him. You just go, hey, wake up. But it doesn't work. Like I don't even think you could shake him.
Some of them it's not going to work.
What you have to do is you have to kind of, you have to kind of spend time with somebody and you have to find out where
Can they be unstupefied?
I think so. You know what you have to do? You have to find out where they're being intravenously fed the poison.
Right.
So it could be that you're talking to a therapist. A lot of people go talk to a therapist and get completely messed up.
Yeah.
You ever talk to somebody like that?
Yeah.
And it's like they were kind of all right, but then they started talking to this therapist.
Now they've gone off the deep end.
And they've been talking to them for like 10 years.
Yeah.
And now they've got this whole worldview constructed. So you got to find out where the IV's plugged in.
Right.
And you got to remove it.
Yeah. I mean, I think, also you have to recognize like some of those people are unstupefied. Like you can't unstupor them and just don't waste your time on those people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Move on to the next person that you can actually like maybe shake out.
And that's what our show is like. Mm-hmm. You know, our show is out there just kind of ask questions. Like some people might just start going, wait a minute, maybe. Mm-hmm. That's all you need. Because the way that's the hope that I have is you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube once it's out. Right. Once somebody starts to kind of get it, they never go back.
Yeah, it's true.
It becomes a rippling effect.
Once you totally see something, you can't unsee it.
Have you ever seen somebody get red pill? Mm-hmm. It's really exciting because suddenly you see them break out and you go, that's so awesome because they're never, ever, ever going to go back in.
Yeah.
So I think that's the hope.
Yeah, I think so too. So I think what we're hoping is that, you know, the more people who stop taking the blue pills, stop drinking the Kool-Aid, start taking some red pills, wake up a little bit, the better it's going to be for everybody.
The red pill actually, it doesn't even need to be taken. Kind of the red pill can be nothing. You're not taking anything.
Yeah.
What you're doing is you're just kind of, you know, like
you're just not taking the blue pill or the Kool-Aid.
Yeah. Like if somebody's doing crack and heroin, they don't have to like trade up for something else. They can just stop doing crack and heroin. And then they're going to be a lot healthier. So I think that's kind of what you have to do. You know?
But you're like, a lot of those people start eating a lot of Doritos and get really fat.
They probably trade, and you know what? There's dead baby in those.
That's a whole other drug.
But I'd rather have someone be on Doritos than crack and heroin.
It's true.
You know what I'm saying? There's like, you can kind of work with somebody on Doritos and maybe.
You might, I mean, that could be the red pill.
The crack and the heroin has a strong grip on you. You might be able to break out of the Doritos thing eventually. You know, but you really want to get them off the crack and the heroin. So like what I'm saying is like a red pill doesn't need to be a pill that you take. It can just be like you stop taking the blue pills.
It's an unpill.
It's an unpill. Yeah. It's kind of, it could even be like a placebo. It doesn't really do anything.
It could give you Tic Tacs.
All it is not blue pilling you. Because I think what I'm starting to realize is the blue pills are really toxic.
They're really bad. They're really dangerous. Because people think they're harmless. They think it's harmless.
Take a blue pill. It's like, suddenly I feel like killing myself. I don't know. You know who I heard died like that was...
From blue pills?
Yeah, kind of. Like Chris Cornell. You know Chris Cornell?
Who's that?
The guy from Soundgarden and Audio Slave.
Oh.
And like, he unalived himself in his hotel room in a weird way.
Supposedly.
Yeah.
Some of those people that unalive themselves, I have questions about.
Well, there's suggests that it. Well, so there's two.
Some of them
unalive
themselves with like 2 bullet holes in the back.
To the back of the head, and they were just about to expose somebody for evil, which that could have been the case. But it also could have been the case that he was taking some of those blue pills because, like, his wife came out and was like, "Yeah, well, he was doing good. I mean, he was taking this." You know, he had a prescription for antidepressants, and I was like,
"Oh, was one of the side effects of the antidepressant suicide?"
Yes, and so one of the antidepressants that he was apparently on that was in his system so this is a fact it's hard to tell what a fact is anymore, but according to what I heard,
fact checkers,
according to what I heard, they did an autopsy and they found blue pill in his system. Yes, he had blue pill at the time of death. So
and you know what the side effect is?
One of the blue pill side effects was suicidal tendencies. But what was really interesting, and I swear I'm not making this up, it was not just that you unalive yourself, but you unalive yourself in a very specific way by hanging yourself.
Oh.
And I was like,
what he did?
Yes. And that was one of the side effects. So how does the side effect have very specific?
It specifically said that the way that you might have this side effect would
You'll unalive yourself by hanging yourself.
That is so weird.
I'm not making it up.
That is so weird.
So that makes me think they do know how to control you.
So they can engineer these drugs down to like the minutia of like, not just that you might feel sad and maybe want to kill yourself, but that you will kill yourself in this specific way.
You will do this.
amazing.
I know.
Now,
And so,
how do they make drugs like that?
well,
That's
see,
crazy. What crazy psychotic person is in the lab doing that?
like Nazis and stuff.
I'm gonna mix this little concoction up, and it's gonna make people want to hang themselves.
Well, like apparently, like the Nazis, like again, this could be wise, but like Mengele and stuff, they were doing experiments back then, and like trying to figure out, like this human that we don't care about. Let's kind of test and experiment on.
It's almost like I mean, this is totally unrelated, but you know how they breed like dogs and stuff, like in certain breeds, like I don't know where I'm going.
We were talking about that the other day. No, you're right.
Like they all like came from like wild dogs at one point.
Like bred a bunch of different dogs.
But then like they like through all like hundreds of years they breed them down to like all these different categories, and then there's like subcategories, like there's like cockapoos now and poodle labradoodles and all these so I wonder if like the drug thing is kind of like that, where like maybe they like tried out like this one drug on somebody and this person got kind of like sad and they were like, I don't really feel good.
We can make a hybrid.
Let's add a little bit more of this concoction.
Well, they did that.
Now they tried it on somebody else, and that person was really sad, and they went to go hang themselves, and they're like, "Hey, bingo! Let's put that in there because then the people will want to hang themselves."
People unalive themselves
by hanging themselves. And then they did a few more, and like one of the people in that group, he wanted to shoot himself. They're like, "Oh, we got like a small like infraction here. We got to dial it in a little better.
I just had an epiphany.
We only want the hanging."
Why do they want the hanging? Because if you kill yourself, that means you might be a gun owner. They don't really want you to be a gun owner because
oh my gosh,
then you might actually form like a militia and say, you know what? Those people are less than us. Let's go just kind of unalive them, and then we'll be free again.
Specific, so they want to kill themselves with a rope.
That's right,
a rope. Yeah.
Well, like he used like those cords that you do exercise with.
Oh,
so there's
rope or cords.
Yeah. So like you can hang yourself like in a cell. Like you can be in your little cubicle apartment and hang yourself.
Yeah.
So that's why they're specifically guiding you towards that.
Oh my God.
It's a more efficient way. But then why don't they just put like a chemical that like time releases and just makes your heart stop? What they probably do.
Well, because probably then like they could be liable. Like, I mean, people might kind of like investigate and realize that
they're
pill,
like, how come the autopsy? Yeah, that blue pill is in every single person who died lately.
There's a problem with this.
Yeah. I'm surprised they even care, though, because at this point, we know that they're killing us, they're unaliving us. So then why are they even trying to like do these creative things? But that was what was interesting.
Maybe it was fun for these people. Like if you were like some psychopathic scientist and you were in a lab, like you might be like tinkering with your little chemicals and drugs all the time. And then
what if they have like
this and you're like, wow, this is really fun.
They have a grease board in the office with like all these different like betting pools. And they're like, who can come up with the most creative death? Oh, looks like it's John this month. He came up with death by hanging by taking a blue pill. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
They're really creative at killing us.
I know.
They have like chemtrails. Like who came up with that? Like let's spray stuff on everybody.
Yeah. So that it like nobody really knows exactly. And also like a lot of these things are like you were saying, they're like slow kills, what about the pokey poke? Do you think people are mind controlled? The ones that got I've heard that too. And also it's really scary because a lot of the people that got that pokey poke, not all of them died right off the bat or got really sick right off the bat.
No.
But a lot of them are having like major health problems now.
Like, they call it turbo cancer. It's kind of like a Judas Priest song. I'm your turbo cancer.
I actually know I just heard about somebody that I know that like that happened to.
I know.
Like within a week they were dead.
It's so lame.
Like that doesn't happen. That's not normal.
Do you know who Mike what was it? Mike Yeadon is?
Yeah. He talked about that. He used to work for Pfizer.
Yeah.
Wasn't he a vaccine
he was
researcher?
The chief technology officer. So he knew literally the top guy for all of their technology, which is weird. They call it technology. That's
for pokey
weird.
Pokes.
Like you're injecting technology? But so that is kind of weird.
Yeah.
But then what he was saying is the spike protein, which is like part of it, it manifests in different ways in different people. But he said eventually it takes over all your cells. So some people died right away because it manifested like in a vital organ. which sounds kind of lame.
Which is also really like when you think about it, it's really ingenious what they did because I think what it did was it affected everybody in different ways. So they couldn't really pinpoint like if everybody like dropped dead right on the spot, it would be pretty obvious.
They'd be like, that looks kind of bad.
That doesn't or if everybody like got like a specific kind of cancer within like 3 months, they'd be like, this is but everybody seems to be affected in a different way. So I kind of think that what it did was it sort of attacked like the weak points in people. So like if you had like a specific weak point in your body, you might not even know about it.
Yeah.
But that's what it attacked in your body.
It's like your kidney's weak.
Yeah.
I'm going to go there.
Right.
And it's totally designed to do that.
Yeah. And so they can't really pinpoint it, especially if it kills somebody 3 years after they took the poke.
And maybe 5 years after the person took the stabby, now their kidney gets weak. And then all of a sudden it goes, ooh, it's weak now.
Yeah.
And then now they die 5 years later of global warming.
Right. And they're like, they're never going to like trace it back to the pokey poke because they
it's
can't.
Like that guy died kind of young of a stroke. It's like, yeah, well, global warming's really bad.
Yeah.
That's how they kind of do it. And did you know they're indemnified too? They were just talking about that. Who was talking to me about that? Where basically you have no recourse. They can do whatever they want to you.
Which that doesn't seem right either.
You know what was interesting?
Somebody needs to look into that.
It was that lady that was talking to Maria Z about the financial stuff. I was like, wait, that's kind of like the
pokey poke.
The pokey poke, because the financial people are kind of indemnified from their kind of egregious stuff too. So like if they bankrupt you, they can kind of do that and get away with it and you have no recourse. And if they kill you with poison shots, they can kind of do that and get away with it too. It's kind of weird.
I kind of think though that this could be another one of those things where people just accept that as truth and go along with it. Like, the mask mandates, and all the other mandates, like they just think that it's true.
They get you to self-censor ahead of time.
Right. Kind of like income tax.
Yeah.
Like, did you know that's not really legal?
Yeah.
But everybody goes along with it.
We just pay it.
Yeah.
I know. And if you don't pay it, can they really come after you?
They say they can, but what if everybody stopped paying it?
Well, that's
what could they do?
That's the key. You need numbers. Mm-hmm. You need to have people to like say, okay, we have the numbers. Our voice is collective. Because I think that kind of works. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that's how things get done. And we need to do that.
I think that's kind of like the point that we're trying to make always.
This was a great episode. This was a cool episode because it kind of talks about like, what are they doing to us and how are they doing it and why are they doing it?
We kind of started getting into the topic, I think, that rabbit hole we wanted to go down next time, which is mass mind control. We sort of started getting into that.
Yeah.
So maybe we can go deeper down that rabbit hole next time.
That's definitely like a good segue. This episode kind of segues perfectly into that, right?
Right.
Okay.
Okay, Firefly.
All right. Good talking to you.
You too.
Okay.